Want to know what successful people are doing with their money to create wealth and use it consciously for the greater good? Welcome back to Wealth Unplugged, the weekly podcast that gives you diamond tips on creating conscious wealth from change makers, world shakers, and wealth creators. Now here's your host, Barbara Turley.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Wealth Unplugged for some more amazing insights into wealth from the remarkable people I've been interviewing on my Feminine Wealth TV show. I had the pleasure of interviewing the very wise and very inspiring Fiona Cosgrove from Wellness Coaching Australia on the show this week. Fiona has had many years of experience both owning and running businesses in the fitness and wellness industries, and is something of an authority on the whole wellness debate these days. So I was really keen to chat with her about the connection between wellness and wealth. We actually had such a laugh on the show. She was a real joy to interview, and it's actually taken me a while to whittle down my key takeouts to just a few, as honestly the chat was jam-packed full of interesting points. But before I get into my key takeouts from the show, I just wanted to share with you an interesting thing that happened to me after the interview. I was heading out that night to the movies to check out The Wolf of Wall Street and see what all the hype was about there. Well, The Wolf of Wall Street is that an up-close and personal look at some of the reasons why I chose to bring the topic of wealth and wellness to the table. Poor old Jordan Belfort, God love him. He was super wealthy, but he was a dribbling mess. He was a drug addict, a sex addict, an excess addict, a total liar with a life that was an absolute mess. He suffered terrible anxiety and couldn't seem to function without drugs. And although the movie, it was both shocking and hysterically funny at the same time, it was also really actually quite sad in many ways. It reminded me of something I wrote recently when I was creating my Feminine Wealth Manifesto, which is available for download over on my website if you're interested in having a look at that. And I wrote, "To pursue money with no clear purpose is to dive into the vortex of emptiness." I should just put a big photo of Jordan Belfort next to that to illustrate the point. Unfortunately, Jordan's only focus was on making as much money as possible. It was all about the money. And outside of that, he didn't seem to have any great personal vision. Now, I could be wrong, but as far as I could make out from the movie, there was no great purpose or vision there to serve anything. Money, I guess, totally defined him. So in chatting with Fiona, we had a really good discussion about this whole concept of money and its connection to happiness, goal setting, and overall wellness. Fiona and I both agreed that a lack of money or financial strain really inhibits you from going after life in a big way and has quite a significant effect on your overall health and well-being. She mentioned the work of Dr. Martin Seligman. Basically, he's the positive psychology and happiness doctor, and he talks about the 5 P's of well-being, and those are positive emotions, positive meaning in life, positive engagement in life, positive achievement, and positive relationships. But what is interesting is that positive physical fitness and health is not listed, which Fiona feels is a fairly major omission, and she adds it to her work around wellness coaching. And I actually happen to agree with her there. So thinking about all of these pieces of the wellness puzzle got me thinking about the effect our financial lives have on all of this, and particularly how bad an effect it can have if we're under financial pressure. Financial pressure certainly makes you feel more negative emotions because of the stress involved, which of course then can hurt your relationships. How many divorces are triggered from financial pressure getting the better of people? It also hurts your sense of self, your sense of achievement, and of course, even if you are fit and healthy, all that cortisol running through your veins from the stress will wipe out a lot of the efforts at physical fitness. I actually feel quite strongly about this actually, because I know a few years back when I was in a strained financial position myself, I did everything to stave off the negative effects. I did yoga, I drank green juices, I upped my intake of veggies, I was meditating, and all the rest that you do for wellness. But I can safely say now that none of those things had quite the same positive impact on me as when I finally freed myself from the shackles of financial strain. Now, don't get me wrong, Those wellness practices were instrumental in actually getting me through that. But in terms of really releasing my energy, getting my financial life sorted out was for me the most pivotal thing I could have done to feel more of the things that Dr. Seligman and Fiona speak about when they talk about wellness. So I guess my key takeout here is that it's imperative that you get your financial life sorted out and in flow, as the effect on your health and well-being is just not to be dismissed. I call this your financial well-being. Fiona and I, we could have talked for hours about this really. So a follow-on point from that was, of course, the other end of the spectrum. Is there stress involved in having a lot of money? Now, many people would think, no, there can't be. But I can tell you now, and Fiona agreed with me on this, there is a whole other form of stress involved, especially when you don't have the financial confidence to make decisions you need to, and worse, you don't have the right mentors and advisors on your team. It was interesting actually because Fiona has dealt in some fairly major business transactions in her career, and she admitted that getting a bit more savvy with yourself and putting the right mentors and advisors on your team makes all the difference. And I would certainly echo this thought too. I've had plenty of years in the financial industry and plenty of knowledge, there around money and wealth. But I still rely really heavily on the mentorship and advice of those I've put on my advisory team. I've got a great team of advisors around me all the time, and I'm in constant contact with them. Without them, my stress level would actually be a lot higher. So I just can't emphasize enough that getting savvy with your money and wealth and hiring the right people on your team is really the key here to maintaining good financial well-being and, of course, good overall wellness. So my final key takeout from my chat with Fiona was a really interesting one, actually. It was the theory of the relationship between financial success and happiness, which is something Gretchen Rubin talks about in her book, The Happiness Project. She calls it the theory of financial relativity. So basically, the theory goes like this. If you have 4 cows and your neighbor only has 3 cows, it's human nature to feel more successful and actually quite chuffed with yourself. But if a new neighbor moves in and has 6 cows, then human nature is to feel less happy and a bit less successful. It's quite a sad fact about human nature, I guess, but we see it playing out today in the whole keeping up with the Joneses mentality. So I think this problem, it brings me right back to my first point, in that the pursuit of money without a greater purpose is really the road to unhappiness. Now, that's not to say that I subscribe to the whole theory of money can't buy you happiness, because I absolutely don't. And in fact, I think quite the opposite. My personal belief is that money can absolutely buy you happiness if you first know what happiness is to you, what meaning, contribution, and fulfillment that you personally want in life. Money then is just a tool that can help you get there. You see, money in and of itself will not make you happy, but can it pave the way towards that vision you have for yourself, your family, your community, and the world at large? Hell yeah. So, look, these are such short snippets of the whole interview with Fiona, and it's well worth making the time to watch it if you can over on Feminine Wealth TV, and you can find the episode over on my website, energizewealth.com. Okay, so that's a wrap for this week. I hope the show really got you thinking about your financial life and how it might be undoing your wellness, or of course, maybe the other way around. Is your wellness or lack thereof impacting your ability to create financial wealth? So look, if you enjoyed today's show, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below or over on the Energize Wealth Facebook page. I love hearing people's reactions to the shows and any light bulb moments that you might experience. Be sure to share those, because who knows who else you might inspire with your thoughts and your comments. Remember to tune in next week for my rundown of what I'm really predicting to be a hilarious interview with my friend Natasha Moy from Girl Power Goddess on why, as women, we feel so embarrassed about admitting that we would like to make a truckload of cash. See you then.
Thanks for tuning in. Come and join us on energizewealth.com to continue the conversation. Get your free video training, 7 Steps to Energized Wealth, and watch the video interviews that were the inspiration behind this episode.